What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the show. I am joined here with my buddy Julius, aka Mixed Tarzan, who happens to go to the same gym, and we've been friends for a while, and just kind of talking about stuff. And we were like, man, you should come on the show because you've actually done a lot of really cool, interesting, and impressive stuff. And so just wanted to have you on to talk about really all kinds of things. But I guess first off, if somebody asks you who you are and what do you tell them?
Well, I am, let's call it
Influencer.
I know that word is the worst. I don't like influencer. I love I usually say video creator, or
I like that.
Or they'll say I work in social media kind of thing, because it's almost like you're constantly studying.
Yeah.
You're constantly learning. You're not just influencing the people that follow you. You're almost like you're influencing yourself by what you absorb.
Yeah, and influencer is just sounds pretentious.
It sounds pretentious.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be that person who's selling constant products or selling ideas or trying to influence everybody. I just want to, say, hey, this is me. And so my content's surrounded by, let's call it a playful childlike mindset.
Yeah.
When I first started fitness and bodybuilding, I saw so many influencers just posting body pictures, flexing, and just taking themselves so seriously. And what that portrayed to me was almost like it was just too narcissistic. And so I stayed away from that. But when I saw that there was money to be made and saw that there was lives changed because of social media, I did want to be a part of it. I wanted my voice to be heard. So I decided, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it my own way. I'm going to be playful. I'm not going to take myself seriously.
Yeah, I love it, man. By the way, I love your approach to everything.
That.
Yeah, it's. I have a 4-year-old daughter, and I can't wait. I was talking to my wife earlier about recording with you, and we were like, yeah, we're gonna have to start showing her some of your videos and stuff because it's stuff that all kinds of people can watch. And so for folks who aren't super familiar with your background. I know you're present on a bunch of platforms, but I was kind of curious in how you got started as this. Whoops, what was that? Something fall down?
Yep.
No worries. I was curious how you got started with this like Tarzan persona, because you're like years back on YouTube, mm-hmm. right? You portray this character Tarzan on, I found like a few different channels and stuff. So can you kind of walk us through like how all of that started and what that is?
Sure. So, going back to what I said about just trying to portray that playful like mindset, there was the app called Musical.ly that came out a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Right. We all know it as Tick-Tock now, but it was a bunch of dances, a bunch of people doing lip syncs. I didn't want to be a part of either of that, to be honest with you. I thought it was super cheesy. Not that I'm not cheesy sometimes, but just wasn't my vibe. So I had been called Tarzan all my life. I do the flips and the tricks, and I love the jungle type stuff. So I was like, well, why don't I just throw on a loincloth and like be playful, like do skits and be a character?
Yeah.
And I posted videos on the Musical.ly. It went, a couple of them went viral over the course, and I was just like, wow, this is kind of taken off. And one day, one of my friends who runs her son runs a large YouTube channel, FGTV.
Yeah. That was one of the ones when I was looking you up, I found them.
They, I did a couple of videos on one of their side channels, and I'll be a kind of a side character coming up. Because they're one of the biggest YouTube channels in the world. He's probably the owner of the channel. He's one of the biggest influences of my life currently. Like, I probably wouldn't be anywhere without him and his guidance throughout the years. But anyway, I just started.
Really quick before this isn't blocking that, is it? Sorry, everybody listening. I just wanted to make sure we weren't blocking one of our cameras.
That was a faux pas on my.
And it's not blocking this one, right?
That's definitely not.
Okay, cool.
But I don't
as long as we see
that.
your beautiful face.
No, good. We need to see the beard. That sells the channel.
So yeah, that channel, man, I was just crazy impressed with how big it is. Like the number of subscribers and the number of viewers. Like, I mean, so many of those videos were like millions and millions of views.
Some of them got. I think I saw one of them get up to almost 100 million views, probably more on his end.
So crazy, dude.
I mean, he's like a genius when it comes to that. He's like everything is to him is like a game and a video game, like a creative.
Well, he's figured it out, man. Because I mean, that's like a third of the U.S. population. It's 100 million people.
It's not, like so my face has been on a bunch of videos that'll have between 10 and 50 million views. And so I'll be, occasionally I will be walking around random places and kids will pull their mom's dress like, oh, I think that's him. And they're like, no, it's not. And I'm like, well, it is, but I don't want to,
Yeah, but I'm really just a normal dude.
Yeah, exactly.
That has to be a surreal feeling, though, knowing that like millions of people have seen you. Is that weird to you, or was it weird at first?
At first, it was definitely something to get used to, but like honestly, I appreciate it. I love it. Like the fact that I was able to resonate with them and like put a smile on their face, and that carried with them enough for them to see me in public months or years later and say, "That's that guy that made me laugh in that video." And I'm like, "That's amazing!" Like they'll carry that. I was like, that's a lasting smile to me, and I love that.
Yeah, and going back to kind of your lighthearted approach to things, keeping it fun, keeping it something kids can view. Like, have you always just kind of been that way? Are you just like that kind of person, or is that something that you mindfully said, I want to be the kid-friendly, fun guy, or is that just your personality? Like, I mean, because you seem like just a laid-back, nice guy.
So I appreciate that, man. Like,
I mean, to me anyway. Most of the time, people think I'm a dick just because I guess I have like
the beard,
resting, like angry face. But you're just always seem super happy. So I was just curious about that.
So all right, well,
you're like, no, I'm not. I hate everybody.
That's deep. Sorry, I paused because that was so much depth to that question.
Yeah, well, that's what we try to do, brother.
Yeah, no, that was perfect. So for starters, I didn't know how I was gonna portray who I was. I didn't like have a formula. I just kind of got behind a camera and just did, whatever I felt. And I wanted to be as genuine as possible. And so I didn't change myself too much. One thing I do, because I respect the channel, I don't post any, since I came from that background, like that was the upbringing, the channels that I was on, they are kid friendly. They're family oriented. I do my best to not do any kind of lewd or indecent content, just simply because I am partially a reflection of them.
Yeah.
Not saying like I represent them. I'm saying like I don't want to misrepresent them either.
Well, you respect them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it has to be weird. I mean, throughout history, there have been these characters where they start off as kind of a kid-friendly character, and then as they grow and evolve, they start to do more. Like Miley Cyrus is a great example, right? She was Hannah Montana, and then all of a sudden she's doing Wrecking Ball and smoking and wearing outfits that are not kid-friendly, and that had to be weird for her too, being like, I know all of these kids grew up watching me, but now I'm going to embrace myself as an adult. Yeah. So I'm always curious about that because I mean, there's countless examples, right? Like Blue's Clues and Barney and all these different kid-friendly shows. I know there's probably far more recent ones, but I'm dating myself a little bit here. And I always wonder about what it must be like conducting oneself outside of that, right? Because you do have to be mindful of, if a kid sees me and I'm yelling at somebody about something,
I feel like it keeps me in check, to be honest with you. And I don't think sometimes there's creative blocks because I would love to tell a dirty joke. We all do it. We're adults. We tell dirty jokes. We say indecent things sometimes, but it keeps me in check to be able to be mindful that not always is that necessary. It's not always necessary. I can be creative. I can be funny. I can be entertaining. I can say a message without having there be some kind of lewd, indecent cuss word. Not that I don't cuss, but it's just like one of those things. Like, I constantly will be mindful of that.
Well, I tend to curse, and it's something that fairly recently I've been more cognizant of because I think that you become a better master of language if you eliminate the need to curse all the time. I mean, I do. It's just naturally how I speak, but I've been mindful of it and doing it less. Part of it because of YouTube monetization, but also I've kind of evolved a little bit in that regard. I think part of it's being a dad, thinking about like one day she's going to watch all this stuff and I don't want her hearing an F-bomb every 3 words. So.
Same. And when I'm around my son, just the same. Because I'm so mindful of other kids.
Yeah.
Same thing with him. I do my best to not let it doesn't always slip. There's slip ups. We're humans and we make mistakes, but it's definitely
not me, dude. I don't know what you're talking about.
But it just
Yeah. So all right. So you get on Musical.ly. You go viral a few times. You get involved with this YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. What from there?
So who I became close with, his mother actually ran a separate channel, The Funky Bunch, and they had a creative idea. We came up with the idea of me being a nerd character, mm-hmm. and it is a beloved character now. Like the nerdy boy, they know me from that, and honestly, like that changed everything because I got to learn so much from her, and like just through filming, we would film almost every Sunday, sometimes more, and it was such a big part of my 2016, 2017 life was just like looking forward to filming that with them and just be creative, wild, wacky, dress up and be goofy,
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it was amazing. And that still carries. I still have people that follow me because of that channel.
Dude, I saw something so cool when I was checking out some of the videos, comments from people like, this was my childhood, from just a few years ago. Like they're so grown up now,
yeah.
but they're like, I watched this all the time when I was a kid. And I'm like, but that's got to be such a cool feeling. And I would assume, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too, that it must weigh on you knowing that you are part of these kids' lives during influential years where you're truly shaping who they become as a human, right? Like those early years of their lives and they're watching you. Is that something that is like, because that to me would be kind of like, oh man, I need to.
It is more powerful than I can even tell.
Yeah.
In the videos that I put out there, it's really subtleties. But if my friend is drinking a soda and puts it on the table, and we're filming a video or I film a TikTok, and I see that soda in it, I will actually refilm the video, remove the soda, and put something else there, or not even put anything there, like have a banana there or have an apple there, or there'll be subtleties through my videos because I don't want to cram things down people's face, but subliminal messaging is really important to me.
Absolutely.
And I feel like if they constantly see a figure that they respect, a figure that they, can say, hey, I want to aspire to be like this person one day, or he's strong. How does he get strong? Subliminally, they've seen my videos throughout these years, and they're like, wow, okay, well, I see fruits, I see vegetables. He talks about lifting weights. He's active. Subliminally, I want them to absorb that part of me and at least walk away with, okay, if I want to be like him or somewhat like that guy, I have to be conscious of eating more fruits and vegetables. And that's been a big part of it. So at least I can have that. So I make sure that my backgrounds are clear. Actually, one of the fitness influencers, Max the Body, he taught me that, is that your background says a lot. So keep your background clear or keep your background intentional.
Yeah. And that's so true because when I started releasing more content in the last few years, Instagram, a lot being Instagram, but people would comment on things like in the background that I wasn't even aware of when I was filming it, and you don't realize how much people pick up on. And so like this studio, I've been very cognizant of like the
messaging.
And each of these flags are friends of mine's companies. So like I'm trying to, be strategic about helping them out. And,
I love that message, by the way.
Yeah.
To victim mentality.
So that's from Norse Fitness, pretty local company up in Concord. And, so that's what they're all about, is just taking responsibility and not complaining, essentially. And, I got my man Einstein up here. Always remember to try and think things through. But yeah, so it is so true. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, even about like the soda, because something like that is like, because I remember being a kid and I remember, like, say if I'm in that scenario and I'm watching you and you're like someone that I look up to, I would think to myself, oh man, he's in great shape and he drinks soda. So I can drink soda.
Oh my God, he's spot on. That's exactly my point. We see these celebrities, we see these people, especially on mass TV. What do we call it? Like just national TV.
Like mainstream TV.
Mainstream, that's the word.
Yeah.
We see them like superheroes and they say, oh, what'd you eat today? Oh, all I had was a bagel and cream cheese. And that signifies, okay, you can be a superhero, be super powerful, and all you're fueling your body on is a sugary caffeine beverage and cream cheese bagel.
Yeah.
To me, that it's not good.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I've always taken issue with that. Like, even like athletes being sponsored by Coke and stuff like that. It's just always, it's just one of those things that's just like, but I'm glad you think about that. All right. So
one thing, by the way, it would almost, I feel like you've been doing this for years. Your fluidity between topics is
man.
like really on point. Like I almost feel like I'm catching myself like, oh, he's catching me slipping right now. Like
dude, you're good.
You're really good at this.
You're great. The whole point of this is for me to just make it conversational, and sometimes it takes a little while to get comfortable too. Like when I first started doing this, I mean, it would be, well, to back up for a second, when I first ever did a podcast, it wasn't as my podcast. I was a guest on some other people's, and it was really awkward for me at first. It was just like, first off, it's weird because you can hear yourself in the headphones. Yeah, and it's like you think about the cameras and you think about everything. But honestly,
I keep looking over here. Like, I'm not being awkward, and then I have the live going on right here.
But it's just there's an art to the conversation, and I look up to guys like Joe Rogan, who's mastered it, doing it for a decade. And the point, or the whole goal, is to put a bunch of thought into it, but for it to appear as though you didn't, right? Yeah. To appear organic, like it's just a conversation. And honestly, a lot of this stuff with you, man, is just things that I'm interested in knowing. Like I'm genuinely curious. So it helps to be a genuinely curious person if you're going to interview people. Cause if you're like, I don't know, somebody who's all into themselves and you don't really care about other people's journeys, like it's not the thing for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like I'm super intrigued by how you created this character. You chose to target younger people and be a role model. So, when I start putting all that stuff together, I immediately start thinking like, what was your childhood like? So were you someone who looked up to certain people in the media, or back in the day, I guess it was just like cartoons and stuff. Yeah. And how did you, growing up as a kid, get influenced to do what you do now? Because I would assume in some way, for sure, right?
100%. I know this sounds ridiculous, but I don't know if you know the anime Naruto.
Yeah, like the is that the one with the
where they run forward?
Like the weird way?
Yeah. That's exactly it. I would say
I sound like such an old like.
I was gonna say, please don't be offended.
Is that the one where they run?
Where they run, funny. Yeah, that's what they kind of went viral for, like in the mainstream. But honestly, the level of perseverance and the level of training, I think that had such an impact on me, because when it came out, I was in 5th, 6th grade, 7th grade maybe, when I started really getting into it. So that shaped a big part of how I perceived what you can and can't do. And I'm rewatching it now with my now wife. She finally got into it after all these years of us.
That's cool.
And so she's kind of seeing it. She's like, "Oh, you say that because of that?" And I'm like, "Oh, I guess so." Looking back at it retrospect, like I think that had a huge part. And then I think that's the first and biggest thing that kind of...
Yeah. When I think about stuff like that, I always think about, because I obviously I'm a dad, and so as a dad, just constantly thinking about, am I doing it right? Am I giving her too much? Am I not giving her enough? Am I exposing her to the right things? Because I have YouTube kids, and we were talking about the Funky Bunch and stuff off air. So I'm constantly thinking about that stuff. And then I think about like how I grew up without parents. And so I know that oftentimes, like when you grow up in a household where one or both are missing, and you're like raised by another family member or something, a lot of times for those role models or those examples of how to live, we end up looking to TV, cartoons, mixed Tarzan, and so like that's just something that has always intrigued me about like the replacement of a parent when you don't have one with the media. And I think that happens more often than we even realize, right? And so I just think it's cool that you could be potentially fulfilling that role model spot for some kid out there, probably a lot of kids out there.
It is actually a kid this year for Halloween tagged me in a post and said and showed me the picture, dressed like Nerdy Boy this year.
That's so
Like
cool.
I was somebody's Halloween costume.
That's so cool.
And to speak on the parent part, so I did. My mom was there, and she was the best thing ever. She was a big. Actually, a lot of the perseverance would be coming from her and seeing her raise me, despite all the circumstantial things that went on. I won't even get into everything. Just like the hardships of life.
Yeah.
Of single parenting, of working 2 jobs, and giving her son the attention. I see that, and that's what I carry forth. My dad was not around. He was.
Yeah, so we have that in common.
So yep, I was going to say. So definitely filling a little bit of a gap, because having a subtracted parent means that there is some gap that needs to be filled.
And kids are sponges; they're going to look for it.
And so if it's going to be in their TV, it's going to be in their YouTube, and today's days, it's going to be in their tablet when they scroll.
It's so crazy to me how intuitive, like just like my iPhone is to my 4-year-old. Mm-hmm. She can just pick it up, open it up, go to YouTube Kids, and like scroll through and pick what she. I'm like, you're 4 years old. How is this even possible, dude?
Mine's 5, and we took him to an arcade the other day, and the Subway Surfer game, one of those little interactive.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
I was like, okay, I was about to go into dad teaching mode, right? Mm-hmm. I'm like, hey, you want to make sure you miss before I could skip a beat. He did that with his actions. Yeah. He was going. He was in it. He was in it. I was like, you're 5. How are you? You're better than me right now.
It's so crazy. It's so well, because also like their brains are so malleable right now, and their tactile abilities are just so like they're developing it, and so they're just like it's so impressive to me because stuff like it's easier to learn different languages when you're younger and all, so their little brains are just freaking in overdrive. Mm-hmm. And so I watch her with this stuff, and that's another one of the battles is like, how much time do I give her on the tablet or watching the TV or, all those things.
The balance. Figuring out what is too much, what is too little,
And I don't even think we know, like as a society, I don't think we know. And it's just steadily changing. But all right, so you play 2 characters, right? Nerdy Boy and Tarzan. Is there anybody else or?
Little sub-characters, or I've been roles where I was the underneath character with a full-on mask and character for the FGTV channel.
Gotcha.
But I'm not going to disclose. They just have to guess.
Do you, if they're watching. When you're doing those, are those scripts like ad-lib or are they scripted rather? Are the episodes scripted or are you just doing it on the fly?
For most of what we've done, it's been on the fly.
Yeah.
I mean, if we have a goal to get to in the plot, we'll have to work around it and say, all right, well, in order to get from here to there, we have to, say something along these lines. But it's never like a written script.
Yeah. Okay. Because I this year I did a movie, like a feature-length movie where I played a character in it, and I had done some acting in the past, and obviously I'm in social media and stuff, but like that was the most challenging part because it's one thing to convey emotion and just to act a certain way and just kind of go off of your feelings. But then when you superimpose, like, here's the dialogue, like, here's everything you got to say, but also still act angry or whatever, and you're trying to remember it, dude, I found that to be so challenging.
Very challenging.
Yeah.
There have been a couple ads that I've done on my personal page where they give you word for word what you have to say to qualify for the script in the actual brand deal.
Yeah.
And those are never as natural.
No, never.
It can't be. Unless you are unless you are Johnny Depp level good. Mm-hmm. Wait, are we allowed to say him? Is he canceled still?
I don't know. Everything's fair game. No, because he got beat up. It turned out or whatever, like by the girl. Yeah, I think I don't know. You could say whoever though.
Perfect. You know how today's culture.
But you get this crazy level of respect for these guys after you try it. Because you're like, man, this is not as easy as they make it look. They make it look like
seamless.
Yeah, but yeah, I was just curious about that. So, all right, the different characters, the YouTube obviously gets tons of views, but it's not your YouTube channel. You're playing a character on their YouTube channel, right? So where do you go from there?
So what I've been doing has been I guess you could say I've been transferring over to more in the fitness realm on the channels that I do possess that are mine.
Okay.
I've been wanting to kind of double down on, let's take it from the subliminal message to, hey, I'm actually going to talk about these things now because I've been over the years, I'll get questions about how do you get to here? How do
Yeah.
you get this amount of muscle? How do you, and I've briefly talked about it, but now I want to fully dive in on my journey and tell people how I've achieved the fitness and just the message that I like to convey with that.
Yeah, yeah, and that's something we haven't even talked about yet. So you're obviously an incredibly fit guy. You're plant based for the most part, right? If I remember correctly, or
Yeah, whenever we actually met, I was training for the first bodybuilding show I
yeah,
ever did, and
yeah,
when we met, I was vegan. I was actually fully vegan.
that's right. You were fully vegan.
Over the years, it's diluted because I felt like, not because I couldn't get the nutrients I needed. Let me clarify that. It was because I didn't feel like I was living my full life as far as
The restrictive nature of it.
couldn't have said it better.
Yeah,
Honestly,
yeah.
it was when I went out with friends, they would not invite me, but they would be like, "Oh, can you eat here? Can you eat here?" I'd be like, "Oh,
Right.
don't worry." And it's just like, all right. So I did add fish and I did add eggs back. So you could call me pesca vegan, but I don't really like titles.
Yeah,
Pescatarian,
yeah.
pesca vegan, yeah, making fun of it, yeah.
Gotcha. And how long has it been since you added that stuff in?
I want to say 2 years.
Oh wow. Okay. Sweet. Yeah, I thought you started looking more jacked around 2 years ago. No, I'm
That's
kidding.
what everybody says. Like,
But no, so I had my buddy Adam on the show a couple episodes back, and he's a vegetarian. He just hit 5 years being a vegetarian, actually the day we did the show, and we didn't even plan it. But
that's awesome.
yeah, and he's a bodybuilder, and he has a respectable amount of mass. He's got a great physique on him. He's had no issues getting his protein and all that, all the things you hear. But he chose to be a vegetarian for purely ethical reasons. So his whole thing is it's truly the ethical reasons behind it, not wanting to kill animals, right?
And I fully that was one of the biggest supporting factors as to what made me go into that route.
Yeah.
And that's actually still the reason why I won't really support dairy.
Gotcha.
Because I think that is, I mean, not to say there's levels to the horrendous treatment of it. I just feel very passionate about how they treat cows in the dairy industry.
Yeah, well, it's a personal choice. And,
Yeah.
and what I was telling Adam was, because people go, whatever you want to call it, plant-based or vegan or whatever, for various reasons. I can much more get behind doing it for ethical reasons, right? Because it's an issue. I mean, factory farming, and it's done. There are a lot of ethical farms as well. I had my buddy Derek on, who's part of the Tillamook Collective. So he doesn't slaughter cows. He just does cheese and yogurt and all that. And they live like an amazing life out on his farm because it's sustainable and all of that. But there are other ones where it's like it's like prison. Yeah. And so I respect those reasons for going fully vegetarian or vegan or what have you. And I was just curious kind of what was your reason for doing it and when you started going down that road. Because if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
28.
28. Okay.
Yep.
So we're not too far apart. I'm still 6 years. I'm a little old. 34. Yeah. And so when did you decide to go plant-based or whatever you call it, vegetarian?
2016 was when I went vegan. Actually, it was a couple months after my son was born.
Okay.
No, sorry, a couple weeks after my son was born. So, long story short, I had done a cleanse during the time that the mother of my child was pregnant, and on that cleanse, I happened to go plant-based, and I witnessed a change in my inflation via the swelling in my cheeks. Yeah. I saw inflammation like the stomach. There was just the eye goop, that you get sometimes.
Definitely.
Within 2 weeks, there was plentiful differences in just all of how I felt, my digestion, and I felt like this was a sign for me to at least explore this option because just like you said, curiosity always. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm just constantly curious about the body. So that was one of the next steps into my curiosity for myself, was to see how I could progress both health-wise and physically with some building muscle. How could I progress? And I want to say within a couple months of me going fully vegan, those same benefits continued to progress in the positive direction. So I continued for a while. I never saw any kind of depletion in my muscle, depletion in my energy, my failure in my immune system. In fact, all of those things remain true. My skin health even was probably better than it is now, to be honest. It just seemed like towards the end, I just felt so, like I said before, restricted.
Yeah,
you said it perfectly. You know, just too many restrictions on what I could and couldn't do with my friends, with my family, and you have to have a balance with your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I just wasn't exactly hitting that.
Yeah, and I think that it definitely can impact your mental health too.
Yeah.
If you are restricting yourself so much
Mm-hmm.
all the time, you know, even if it's, I mean, you know how grumpy people get when they're prepping for a show and stuff like that. So I certainly understand.
Have you ever prepped for a show?
I have. Back in 2010, and injured myself like deep into prep, and then I started a prep one other time and injured myself again. So
It just wasn't in the cards.
And I've never been like I've always enjoyed the process. I've never been too concerned with getting on stage because I do it more just for myself, and I just love bodybuilding and powerlifting.
You want to look like a boss.
That's a nice byproduct of it.
Yeah.
But dude, honestly, for me, it's my meditation. It's my release, you know, getting in the gym and throwing around weights and just kind of getting in my own head for an hour. And that's probably part of the reason why sometimes people think I'm being a dick or whatever, because I'm just like laser focused, going to the next thing. But yeah, so I always am curious about that, how folks get into being plant-based or vegetarian or vegan. And then, it's just fascinating to me. Anytime somebody does something like that, it's fascinating to me, even if it's like the carnivore diet, which I've talked to guys. I was talking to a guy last week who does that, and I just like different kinds of people. I love, you know, finding out how people tick and you know, how their brain works. So
do you ever find that, you know, because you speak to a lot of different people with a lot of different ways of eating, lifestyle choices.
Yeah.
Do you find that there's a personality trait that ensues with different diet traits, or is it a mixture?
Well, what I would say in general is that those who do, I'm getting a little static. I'll be able to take care of it in post. Those who do any sort of diet or specific nutrition plan, whether that's vegetarianism, veganism, or the carnivore diet or whatever, I would say in general they tend to be more mindful and self-aware. You know, because you've taken enough time to do that personal audit, right? Of like, what am I eating? Why am I eating it? You know, what is? It's like it's just overall awareness of who you are and what you're about and what you're doing, and not that people who just intuitively eat whatever they want is a bad thing, but I think it's just kind of another level of awareness. So for me, I eat pretty much based on macros. You know, I don't do anything as much qualitatively. So like I eat meat and vegetables and, you know, everything. But yeah, that's the only kind of, I guess, common trait I would consider. Obviously, there are definitely commonalities between folks who decide to go vegetarian or vegan insofar as like ethical concerns for animals. Right. That's a big one, obviously. You know, it's kind of funny talking about that, and I talked about that with my buddy Adam as well. But like Joe Rogan is fascinating to me in that regard because he's a hunter, so he hunts elk and deer and various other things. But when he decided to be a hunter, it was because he had reached a point where he was so disgusted by factory farming that he had decided, I'm either going to be a vegetarian or a hunter because it's all about the impact on the animals, right?
I actually didn't
so
know
that. Yeah. So it's really cool because for him, he's like, I go out, I very meticulously select one animal, instantly take its life, you know, with an arrow through the heart, and then I eat it for 6 months, you know, when he kills an elk. So that versus...
And that's sustainability.
Yeah,
you're taking the torture out of it.
Exactly, all of the above. And so it was a really interesting perspective for me because I had never thought about like, oh, I'm either going to be a vegetarian or be a hunter. But it makes a lot of sense. And it's funny to me, or not funny, but ironic when I see like people, you know, the comment sections always get crazy. So online people will be like, how could you be a hunter? That's so disgusting. Meanwhile, they're like eating a steak at home from like a concentration camp of cattle.
But they didn't shoot it, so they're fine.
Yeah. So they're a good person. Like the meat just magically appears at the supermarket. But another aspect to it that's compelling is that when you think of a wild animal, how is that wild animal likely going to die? Right? There's no pleasant way for a wild animal to die. Period. There's not. Even if it's by old age, how do they die by old age? Right? Like they get picked off because they're weaker and slower, or their leg gets stuck in something and breaks, and then they lay there and starve, or so a wild animal's death is never pleasant. So putting an arrow through its heart, instantly killing it, is probably like the most, I don't know if you want to call ideal way to die, but they're not going to die any better way than that, and so that was another interesting perspective for me. It's like, because if you've ever seen a video of like a bear eating a deer, it's awful. They eat them alive, dude. Yeah. They just hold them down, and so.
No, actually, anyway. Honestly, I didn't know that about Joe Rogan. That's pretty cool.
It's interesting. And it's good. Because a lot of times people would think, oh, you're a hunter, you're just like this barbaric, whatever kind of person.
A lot of the hunters that I actually know in person or have seen via podcasts or YouTubes, they actually have more respect for the animals than the random Joe Blow sitting on the couch judging them.
Well, and most people, absolutely, I agree 100%. And I hunt and fish and everything, and I have massive respect for the land and natural resources, and I think most people in general are out of touch with nature. Completely. They just don't. There's a disconnect there, and so they don't even understand what it's like to be like out in the woods by yourself with nature, or out on the river. Or they live these insulated lives where, just like you said, like as long as I'm not the one who has to kill the animal for whatever reason, it makes it okay. It's like, no, the animal's still getting killed, bro.
Even a disconnect with the littering. The hunters that come out leave the land as you found it.
Definitely.
I know that's a mentality with a lot of hunters. But with the person, again, buying the meat that magically appeared in the supermarket, throwing straws, throwing their Wendy's cups and their McDonald's cups, like no respect for the land, no respect for the lay. So I definitely see that there is, not every case I'm sure, but with hunting there's a respect.
Absolutely. And it's funny because they'll be littering like that and then saying that hunting is barbaric.
It's ridiculous.
There's all kinds of crazy things like that about humanity, which makes it interesting too. But all right, so you got your start kind of doing the various characters, doing the YouTube. Are you doing any of that anymore with those guys, or where's all that stuff stand?
With the Funky Bunch, we are in the process of potentially reviving with the other channels that I'm a part of, or that I variously will guest appear on. They are taking off. They're gonna continue and do their thing. I occasionally, he'll call me up for a video idea that he has with me in it, and I was in a couple of the latest ones. A couple of them actually haven't even posted yet, so nice. I'll still be occasionally with them. But definitely my main pursuit is trying to build up my own platforms. So maybe one day I can return the favor and bring him, bring them a better version of me to the table, bring them ideas, bring them creativity, things that I've learned, people that I've met, because I love it when I'm able to do that for them. A couple times I've been able to bring creators that I've met in LA or Vegas or wherever I've been and say, hey, why don't we all film? And we've done videos and collabs together. And to me, that's been the most, I guess in this aspect, has been a really rewarding part, being able to be useful, being able to say, hey, I've appreciated this so far. I want to do, even if it's the smallest little thing, it matters very little in the grand scheme, but it's just a gesture of me saying, like a little, like a house cat, like, oh, I killed a mouse. Here it is.
Yeah.
Kind of like that.
Well, it is. It's incredibly fulfilling. And anytime you can kind of leverage your connections to bring people together and then they go on and do something, like that's really cool. All right. So you're definitely now more of an influencer, I would say. And I know a lot of people listening are either just curious about that whole world, or they might aspire to be, for whatever reason, someone who grows on a platform to have influence, not to use the term influencer. But how did you, like, how does one, if somebody's interested in that, like, how the heck do you grow to, what are you? You're like over 700,000 followers on TikTok. And so you've built this thing. What advice do you have for people who are interested in doing that? Because it's these days, it's a real thing kids aspire to do. Yeah. Like they want to be YouTubers or they want to be TikTokers, and there's real money in it. Right. So if you had to, I guess, kind of talk about what got you to where you are as far as that stuff goes, what would you tell people?
You have to love it. There's not a thing about it that you have to. I'm sorry, I messed that up. You have to love not every part of it, but you have to love what you're doing.
Yeah.
You have to love what you're posting. You have to have a passion behind, like, would you do it for free?
Right.
Is the question you have to ask yourself before, because let me tell you, everybody comes and congratulates for what they've seen, but you've seen from a while ago.
Oh, yeah.
I was doing this for free for the longest time because I enjoyed pranking people. I enjoyed fitness content.
The pranking is some of my favorite stuff.
And it's something that I was doing for free, in fact, that I would still do for free, for fun. Maybe not as often, but I would do it because at the end of the day, when the views aren't as great, when the money's not great, you still doing it, that consistency is what's going to get you the success. And if there's not a love for it, I don't think that somebody should do it. Like, you shouldn't do it just for the fame or just for the money, because it is not glorious. It is not glamorous.
Yeah, it's a grind.
It's a grind.
Even this thing that I do, having to put it on YouTube and put all the audio versions out and then chop up clips and then keep putting out content on Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. People don't realize it's like, it's fun. It's fun for sure. You're doing what you want to be doing. You're doing what you're passionate about, presumably, but it is a lot of work. The key, though, I think, and this is what you were getting at, is that grind doesn't feel like work because there's passion there, right? So you're willing to say, like, I've been in here since 7 a.m. and it's, I don't know, 8 p.m. now, right? So, like, I've been in here over 12 hours doing different stuff, mm-hmm. and it's just my day. I don't even feel like I'm working. I'm just, I'm doing me. Yeah. What about, like, somebody who, because this has to exist, right? It's not like if you just go put in a ton of time, you're going to be successful, right? Like, you obviously have an appeal with people. You're good at it. You have a great personality. You have an awesome physique. Like, there's a lot of aspects to making you the character you are that make people want to follow you, because I guess what I'm getting at is, like, you have to create value in some capacity for people. So as far as the value you create, it's making people laugh. It's giving people valuable information for their health. I'm sure there's some girls who follow you just because they like the way you look. Like, let's be honest.
And guys.
Yeah, and guys too. Yeah, absolutely. Should see my DMs. It's funny because, like, people will be like, oh, you're a jacked guy or whatever. I bet you get a lot of girls in DMs. I'm like, there's 5 times as many guys. I promise you.
Yeah, there's nothing but
it's so true. And it's like, I don't mind. I'm grateful for, for everybody who follows me and watches my stuff and all that. But it's just funny how people assume, and it's the other way around.
Just like the adage where it's like, you get ripped for the girls in the gym.
Yeah,
in reality,
it's the bros.
It's the guys that are like, yo, your arms are looking fire today,
yeah,
bro.
Dude,
like,
it's so true.
And the girls are like, all right.
it's so true, man. Do you see yourself doing more like acting in the future, or is that I'm like real acting, like, not that what you're not doing is real, but no, I'm saying, like, in movies and crazy stuff like that, because you could potentially be that kind of person, right?
You know what? If that path opens up, I am all for it. I am 100% willing and ready. I just don't know that the time is now.
Yeah,
I don't think I can. I don't think I'm at a place where I can or even need to pursue that.
Yeah, I think that it's something that would just come, right? Like,
exactly.
I think it would just happen.
I almost feel like I need to earn it.
Yeah,
because as a social media influencer, as a social media personality, a lot of times an ego comes with that. And I can tell you one thing, that's not where I'm at. I don't feel like I deserve to be anywhere. I don't feel like I deserve, like, oh, just because I have a large subscription, like, I need to be in front of a camera. A million people need to see my face, or like I deserve to be an actor. Like, actually, shout out to Suburban Prince. He's one of my friends here. He said that he said it better. Like, he was just like, people don't care about social media when you're in the real national. What do we call it? The real media world? When you're in the acting,
like mainstream
acting, they don't care about social media influencers as much.
Which is funny because they should. Because the balance is shifting.
It is shifting, but at this moment, it's like when we walk into the room, we might be known by a few people here, but if you're not Ryan Reynolds,
right?
And I feel like there's an ego that comes with having millions of views that I just haven't really picked up. That I don't feel like I deserve it.
I can't stand that.
I haven't earned it.
Yeah.
I haven't earned the right to say I'm going to be an actor. I don't know that I can act.
It's not easy, bro. It's really not. It was so weird for me because when I went and did it, it was just so random. Like, I wasn't trying to be an actor. I don't maybe won't ever act again. But I just got a message, right? Like, and I had the mohawk and everything at the time. So it was just like a particular look. They're like, we like your look. You've got a podcast, so you obviously know how to move your mouth and make sounds that make sense. So they were like, do you want to do this thing? And so I went out and did it. And it was, for me, I was humbled the whole time because everybody else was like I was telling you, my co-star, she did a mini series on Netflix, like legitimate actors and actresses. And it was not easy. It was very challenging. Like, it was hard work, dude. Like, very hard work. Like, these people put in the time and the effort. So I got a new respect for it. But anyway, I could see you like being like, I don't know, in some movie like with The Rock where you're like his brother and you're like his, I don't know, like his funny brother or something like that.
That would be actually a couple comments. I'm not claiming this, but a couple comments, more than a few, have said, you kind of remind me of The Rock. Whenever I get like in a deep, like passionate talk when I'm yelling, like they're like, oh, you kind of sound like The Rock. Bro, your skin and when they say that, my heart's oh my God, that's the best thing ever. I'm like, but then I tone it down, like, maybe not. But
if anybody's doing it the right way, man, that guy is, he's a great example to go back to what you were talking about someone who is in Hollywood, but also does the social media thing well.
Very well.
And it's like, why aren't all these other people paying attention to him and how he's doing it? I guess they just don't care, but like.
Because they can't.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a unique dude.
I think he's so unique that he's that personable. I don't think that's because you can almost see it.
Yeah,
you can almost it's almost a tangibility where it's like some of these celebrities that are, let's call them actual celebrities. They're in movies, Hollywood. They're not touchable, and you can feel that.
Yeah,
and so that translates in social media, and that's why I feel like that's a huge reason why social media influencers are growing so well, because I am tangible. I'm touchable. If somebody messages me, a lot of times I'll see it and reply if I can. And if somebody comments and I think it's a funny comment, I'll reply. I'll repost it. I'll do what I can. And we're touchable. So that makes us, because of that, they want to be a part of our world more.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. And he will reply to comments randomly. And can you imagine being like the person who gets a response from him? I
would absolutely just. You would have to clean up my pants. Like, I would just absolutely crap.
You got to meet, who was it, his stunt double or something, right?
Yes, because of a YouTube premiere that my friends got invited to, and I went to pick them up, and it was the craziest thing. I was walking to pick them up. I see this massive, bald, imposing guy in a really amazing suit, and I was like, that's The Rock. It's not The Rock. As I was walking towards it, I was in the streets of LA just looking like, that could be The Rock. It's his movie. Like, my heart was, I could feel it beating faster. Like, am I about to meet The Rock? He's right there. This is insane. And I was like, oh my God, it is. And then I was like, oh, it's his stunt double. Oh my God, that's just as cool.
Still just as awesome.
I was like, oh my God. And I shook his hand. He was very, very personable. We didn't have a chance to talk as much because obviously there was a lot of stuff going on. But my friends who live I don't know if I can say where he lives.
Yeah, don't say where your friends live.
There's
like 12 people that listen to this, so you don't want them to.
Yeah, I was going to say no. So my friends who live where he is,
okay,
hang out with him.
That's pretty cool.
And I apparently, he didn't tell me directly, but apparently I was invited to Thanksgiving at his house.
Wow.
So I was like, that is amazing. I'm
is
going to
amazing.
take that as what an honor. I was
Yeah.
like, all right, that's cool.
Yeah, no doubt. That is cool, man. Yeah, The Rock is one of those guys where, like, I look at his life and, like, I'm a busy enough dude. I have a family, a business, all that. But I'm like, how the hell does he sleeps like 3-4 hours a night? He still stays in amazing shape. He's like constantly traveling. I think about like every time I fly somewhere, I get a cold, and I'm like, how the hell is this guy doing it? But
did you see his traveling gym?
Yeah, it's insane.
That is unreal. I would just love to get a workout there.
Yeah, like
just check it out.
I would love for it to be like my permanent gym,
right?
Like his traveling gym. Yeah, it's insane, bro. It's awesome, and it for me, it's a particularly cool thing to see like a fellow meathead make it. You know what I mean? Like he's a mainstream successful guy, but he's also jacked.
A meathead at heart.
Yeah. And so I got a little bit of love for him there because it's like sometimes we get like stereotypes as being not smart or whatever. So that's like a win for the big guys.
And I was going to say nobody can ever say that The Rock isn't smart because he's doing all the right things.
Yeah,
like that
he's so brilliant, man. Great role model too. All right, so enough about The Rock. He's got his own platform. He can talk about himself. We're not even going to promote his tequila. So, all right, you're growing on TikTok, and to get back to like the advice, what if somebody wants to grow on TikTok, because that's where you've particularly had a ton of success, right? What should they do? Was it just sort of capitalizing on popular trends, or and I don't even have TikTok, so like I'm really flying blind here. But what would you attribute your success on there to? Just making funny stuff that spread, or?
I would say consistency at best. No matter what it was, no matter how my previous video did before, I would still post. I would still try to make content because that's not only how I learned what people did and didn't like.
Yeah.
It's also, I think all algorithms for social media platforms respect and need and thrive on consistency. They don't push you, like the platforms don't push you unless you're consistent.
Yeah.
And so that is above all, any piece of advice I could give, consistency is above all the most important part. And that goes back to having a passion. How can you be consistent in something that you don't necessarily have a passion for?
Yeah, great point. Great point. And I can attest to that because I started on YouTube with the channel for the podcast, and I was growing, I was getting a good amount of views for me, gave it a break for a while, and then I picked back up putting videos on there, and it's abysmal. And we talked about that. You were like, just keep doing it for X amount of time and it'll get there. But yeah, just as a personal example, it's totally true. Same with my Instagram. I mean, if I stop on there for a while, or if I'm erratic with when I post, I see a difference.
If you don't feed the beast, it gets hangry.
Yeah.
And it goes to eat somewhere else.
How much thought do you give that kind of stuff when you're making your content and stuff like that? Because it sounds like, you have to be pretty mindful and strategic in terms of making sure that you post as much as you should and stuff like that.
I never feel like I'm thinking about it enough. I feel like there's always something I should have done better, and that's that's how I feel like maybe the success is coming, is because I never feel satisfied with what I did previously, and I always want to be better than the last. Because that's what it's been. That's what it's been. Is just constantly trying to constantly trying to outmatch my past post.
Yeah, I think there's two really telling attributes of people who tend to be successful, and you've hit on both. It's never being good enough, always striving to be better, and then never, to go back to what you said about some people who think they're what doesn't stink, never being too full of yourself, right? And so I think those two things are so key. And no matter what the discipline is, no matter what you're doing, if you stay humble and remember that you can always be better, and if you don't take yourself too seriously and think that you're better than anybody else. And some even talk about like imposter syndrome, where people who are massively successful, right? Like let's talk about The Rock again. Like you can take someone like that, and objectively everybody would say he's amazingly successful. That guy's made it. But in his mind, he might be like, I still got a lot left to do, man. I really don't think I'm shit.
He's said that in interviews, actually.
Yeah.
That's
so
crazy.
That's the key.
He's said that. And it's like, I don't know a person who could say that they're more successful than him, to be honest with you.
Right.
And yet he's still saying there's more. That lets you know that you know, there's certain people, there's certain mindsets that is just make or break for being successful.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I think to an extent, that's not something you can even coach. I think that it's just, you have to want it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because like even with me, when I had my regular full-time job, I always was doing something else on the side, like always, whether it was real estate investing or I ended up having that restaurant business and all of that. And it's just, I think there's certain, like, I would never feel like if I was just doing a job, like I would never feel like I'm doing enough. You know what I mean? And it seems like that's kind of how you are as well. When I was talking to you about when you're working at your nutrition store job and then still doing all these other things, traveling to do events and creating constantly. So it's just, I think something that is just an attribute of certain people, and it's just how they are. Mm-hmm. That's not to say if you're someone who does enjoy just doing your job and living your life or whatever.
Doesn't mean you're not successful.
Yeah, we need people like that too. Mm-hmm. But I think that you hit on it though. If you want to be this type of successful, like a creator, like a personality, like someone who's putting out valuable content to influence the lives of others, you have to have that.
Right? I think it's without a doubt absolutely necessary. I mean, you might get the occasional person that struck the gold that's super lucky, but majority of the people that I've met that
they're putting in
this
work.
Industry, they are working.
Yeah.
It is not so. To the viewers at home, to people who are looking to be in this industry, first of all, don't let anybody around you tell you that you can't.
Yes.
Okay, that is absolutely not true. Because I came from nothing. I am nobody, and I'm here making a living through it. You can, but it is not glamour. It is not all glamorous that, you know, you see of you. When you see a video, you're like, oh my God, that's amazing. They have a house, they have this, they have that. They worked for that tirelessly, most likely. For the most part, I can say with a widespread, you know, with some kind of authority, like they worked for it. You just have to put in the time, put in the consistency, and expect that sometimes you will work for hours, weeks, months, years, until something blows up, but it will eventually if you really keep at it.
Yeah, everybody seems like an overnight success after working for 10 years and then finally popping off. That's so true, man, and that's applicable to any industry, to any endeavor, honestly.
Anything.
So continuing more so on the fitness stuff, putting out more of that content. I think you do a great job of balancing putting out entertaining stuff and fitness stuff and the funny, you know, like prank stuff and all of that. I love the combination of things. So I hate following just like regular fitness accounts. I generally don't. But guys like, do you know who Juji Mufu is?
I absolutely love him.
He's amazing, but he does fitness stuff, but then he also does hilarious stuff.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The splits that he does, the backflips, the dressing up like characters.
Yeah,
and
all
just
of that.
I love that guy.
You're obviously like very different, but in a lot of ways you remind me of him. Because
I think that's a super huge compliment.
Yeah.
It's
true.
I think he's amazing.
Juji, if you're listening,
yes,
we
love you.
Have you on the show.
Yeah.
Maybe do a skit together.
I would love that too.
He lives in this area. Like he lives.
No way.
Yeah. I won't say exactly where, but he lives 40 minutes away. We used to train at.
Oh wait, okay. So when I was at the Olympia recently, I met Anton Bayan.
Yeah,
and they are cohorts together. They grew up in this together. And he was really cool too. He was very nice.
He's got some of the most impressive legs I've ever seen, dude.
He's imposing.
Yeah.
He's
not a small guy.
Quite frightening, actually.
Yeah.
I actually have a video on my Instagram where I'm repping out military press with him sitting there coaching me, saying like, do it, because it was a contest for the Olympia, at the Olympia, and it was an interesting event. So,
what, like, you're obviously very busy with all of this social media stuff that you do. What is the end goal? Like, where do you picture this going? What are you trying to achieve? And then outside of that, this is kind of two really big separate questions, but like, what else do you enjoy in life outside of this whole world?
Okay. Where do I see this going, and what's the end goal? just like you said with The Rock, where is there really an end goal? But no, honestly,
That's fair.
If I die, I want to leave behind people going, dang, I want to live a little better because he inspired me to do so. I want to eat a little better because he inspired me to do so. And if I can go with at least 1 million people that say that, I think I've touched a few. Maybe let's not put, I don't want to put a number on it. If I can go with as many people as possible, let's say, oh, I want to live better because he lived, then we did it.
Absolutely, man. 100%. Even if it's one person, like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I shouldn't have put a number on it.
But still, I mean, shit, 1 million's better. But I think that's a fantastic answer because it doesn't put like an actual end point, right? It's just impact as many as you can in a positive way. Along those lines, do you want to stay focused on kind of like the younger audience, or do you see yourself evolving away from that, or starting to put out content kind of for both? Because I enjoy your stuff just as much as probably a kid, as far as all the fitness stuff goes, you know?
I'd say I want to keep it there.
Yeah.
I want to keep it right where I'm at because I want it to be digestible enough for a kid. But eventually I do want to go deeper with some of the science behind why I lift the way I lift.
Yeah.
Why I eat this particular vegetable over that particular vegetable. Because there is a craft in what I do. There's rhyme and reason behind my meals, the colors behind my plates. I want to grow and be a little bit more in depth. So I think a good majority of the percentage of my videos are actually going to go towards that.
Cool.
So I'm still going to have some fun. I'm still going to make jokes within the videos, but I'm going to go into depth about like, well, I eat this meal throughout this time. I eat this way during this period of the year. And we're just going to see how people digest that. But I'm for the next foreseeable future, that's what I'm going to go for.
Well, you know, what's going to be cool is you're going to eventually have people who started watching you as a kid. And then they grow up and, they're watching you still as an adult. So
I got excited when you said that. I think about that every day of my life.
That's awesome.
Like, what if a kid watched me when they were 12 and all of a sudden they're 24 years old? Guess who else is 24? Chris Bumstead. What if I somehow impacted the next Mr. Olympia Classics physique champion?
Yeah, that's cool.
That blows my mind.
Or somebody who blows up on social media just as a creator, and they're like, I got really inspired by this Tarzan guy, and now I have 5 million followers or whatever. And
would be mind blowing.
And then they're impacting people, and then the same thing happens. And
the trickle effect that was impacted because of whatever I did, and that would be beautiful.
Positivity spreads exponentially, which is a good thing, and we need more of that in this world.
Absolutely.
I agree 100% on that. Now, what do you like to do for fun outside of this stuff?
Boy. All right. Lately, me and my son have been getting into video games, but action video games, like where we go to I should have said arcades.
Okay, cool.
Because I like the action. I like the running around and walking, so there's still a little bit of activity.
Yeah.
So we can kind of meet in the middle, where he gets a little bit of gaming, gets a little play, but we get to walk around while we do it. Maybe we'll do a little racing, a little bumper car.
Nice.
And as a kid, I grew up doing that, and that's something I share with him, and I think that's been something I've been able to look forward to, at the end of the weeks or at the beginning of the weeks whenever we have him. Other than that, me and my wife love to travel.
Yeah? Got any trips planned? Or any recent ones you've been on?
The most recent one that we were on together, that I would say was just us, was whenever we got engaged pre-COVID. Because we've been on many trips since then, but they weren't exactly romantic or just us trips. I actually proposed on this trip where we flew to Arizona and took a road trip around Arizona, went to the Grand Canyon, went to Sedona and meditated in the mountains. We went to California, Nevada. We just did the desert scene. Amazing. And then I proposed in Coronado Beach over in San Diego.
Nice. It's beautiful out there.
It is. It's
dude, the Grand Canyon is beautiful. Like when I saw that, you don't grasp the scale of it until you see it.
And even then, you're just like,
yeah,
this is real. This is what? Like, how tiny are we?
Yeah. Oh man. And then and when you compare that to like that's tiny compared to other planets and other stars, and it's wild. It makes you feel really insignificant.
Do
really
a podcast
fast.
strictly on that topic alone because we could go for hours on that one.
Oh man, absolutely.
But that trip was the most significant to me since our Hawaii trip, which was also beautiful.
Yeah, I bet.
The landscapes there, like you can't, no matter how clear of a picture you have of that. I don't know if you've ever been.
No, I would like to.
You cannot imagine the view of the beach. Like it's not the same. It's not what we see on the east or west coast of America. It is absolutely breathtaking.
Wow. There was a video where like Tarzan goes to Hawaii, right?
Yes.
Was that trip?
That was that trip. I was able to immortalize that trip because
that's awesome.
That channel because I don't.
And now millions of people have seen it.
I was going to say, I think that one's got 10 million, 5 million.
It's a lot. I don't know. It's definitely in the millions.
FGTV Family Gaming Shorts. You can see it there. And that's what I'm saying. And he gave me that opportunity to be able to immortalize it. Like he didn't need me to make videos for him. Like he could have, like he said, I mean, he could have put a wig on and done it himself.
Sure. Yeah. He's already getting millions of views on.
Yeah. Like it was just one of those things where he was like, all right, well, let's see what you can do. Let's, I'll help you out kind of here and there. And then like I was able to pull in from him from that video paid for the trip.
That's dope. That's cool.
And just like that's why everything is like. I mean, seriously, I would be nowhere without that guy.
Wow. So shout out to that guy.
That guy, FGTV.
FGTV. And it's Family Gaming, right? Is what it stands for.
Sorry. The channel is Family Gaming Shorts. Okay. But he has like 7 or 8.
He's got
channels.
several.
He's got, it's insane.
And one is like FG, like GEE.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the main one. That's the gaming channel.
Yeah.
Family.
Yeah, Family Gaming. Man, it's so cool. When my daughter watches like YouTube, kids YouTube or whatever, I'll just because now that I put stuff on YouTube, I'm like, let me check out, see how many views they got on that channel. It's wild, dude. Kids stuff will have like 50, 100 million views. It's insane how many views kids things get. I'm like, maybe I should start like making kids content. But and then you have like that Ryan kid who does the toy reveals or started doing the toy reveals. Now he owns like a empire. It's insane.
Absolutely unreal.
So how does like your normal run of the mill social media creator generally make money? Like what are the different ways people can make money if they want to be like a TikToker or YouTuber? And also, so people know, you don't make much money. Like unless you're like the people making like millions are there's like a handful, right? Like, but you can make enough to live, right? Sustainably live.
Absolutely. More and more, there's been more opportunities to make money. Like if you would ask 10 years ago, the amount of people that could have made money 10 years ago was probably shrunk by 1,000%. But if 10 years ago I had the following that I have on Instagram, let's say 700,000, I would probably be upwards of coming close to a millionaire.
That would be huge, yeah.
But now, because it's so diluted, that money is not anywhere near what it is. Like I have a livable income, right?
Sure, yeah.
Where it's like the freedom is worth a lot more than the dollar.
100%.
And so the money comes from honestly a million different ways. Like,
and that's what I wanted to get at. That was the key I wanted to highlight is that.
It can be detailed.
Yeah, you have to be just that. Like, you have to be prepared to explore tons of different avenues to piece together income, right? Because there's sponsors, there's advertisers, there's all kinds of different things that you can do. So what are kind of just like the general avenues that people make money on? Because some people might be listening to this and they have no clue. They're like, yeah, I know people can make money on TikTok, but it doesn't make sense to me. How do they actually do it?
Well, first and foremost, the YouTube pays directly, right?
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, like you put a video, if you're monetized, you get views, eventually AdSense turn to money, right? TikTok has a similar thing where they have a creator fund. You get money per view if you're in the creator fund, if you're eligible. But just recently, Snapchat and Instagram came out with the same thing where you can get paid for Reels.
Yeah, my reels suck, but I get paid for them now. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. He's taking me out to dinner on one of his reels.
Yeah, for sure. I think I could almost afford a dinner
right?
off one of them.
Applebee's.
Yeah. We're not going fancy.
But yeah, Snapchat Spotlight pays creators pretty handsomely. Not me yet. Snapchat, where you at?
So is that like to be a part of the Creator Fund on TikTok, for example, or on the one on Snapchat? Is that a result of like you have to have a certain following?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
for TikTok anyway. Reels, I actually don't know how that works yet.
I have no clue either. It just popped up on my thing, and it was like, "Hey, do you want to get paid?" And I was like, "Yes."
Yes.
And that was it.
And Snapchat, actually, it is also fairly random. YouTube Shorts, again, kind of fairly random, because YouTube Shorts, I almost look at it as a separate entity than YouTube, just the standard that we've been used to.
Yeah, because they can't run ads on Shorts, right?
Exactly. The YouTube itself is paying because...
everybody's just trying to compete with TikTok.
I think I'm not going to speak for anybody, but I'm pretty sure that's what's happening. I think everybody's just trying to. It's a rat race to compete with TikTok.
Well, TikTok has at least shown that it's a very effective medium.
Absolutely.
Like the style is very effective, right? Especially for like teenagers, and because you're just like it's so interacting. Like the next one and the next one, and it never ends, right?
And it's just it'll wrap you in a tunnel of scrolling.
Yep.
But anyway, so those directly pay out, but then you have your sponsors and your brand deals, and like they come sporadically, and they're few and far between. Sometimes they come once a day, sometimes they come once a month. It just depends on your level of creatorship. It depends on your reach,
your clout.
With me, I have a couple that are regular monthly that are just came about, and then a couple that'll randomly come and go as they see fit, as they need to use me. I've had a couple where they've reached out again after having success, and they say, "Oh, we liked working with you the first time. You were easygoing. You were, we like working with you. So you want to do it again?" I think. One of the best things is I met Jay Cutler at the supplement store.
Yeah, I was going to say you're wearing the shirt. We got to talk about it.
And he, first of all, one of the nicest guys I've met in the fitness industry so far.
I've heard that from a lot of people.
Like, he is definitely humble. There's no arrogance about him, even though if anybody could, it'd be him.
Facts.
I've met a lot of people, and I haven't really. I feel like I got starstruck a little bit by him, to be honest with you, because I was like, following him from a bodybuilding standpoint, like, oh my God, this is one of the guys like I look to for fitness advice, but essentially, and and then that washed away pretty quickly because I get it together, dude. But seeing him, talking to him, we made some videos on my channel together, and I think so I ended up in one of the skits. I stitched one of his own videos on his TikTok, and I ended up spitting protein all over him. Yeah, and that was I can tell you I guess he never forgot that, because we made a connection from then on, and I ended up getting signed over to be an athlete for his team as of like 2 days ago.
Congratulations!
That was an amazing thing, and that was like that was just this. I don't know, just the sheer sake of him recognizing, like, hey, you know what, you have a value on in your realm of social media. I don't know much about it. Let's collab, let's network, let's do whatever he saw in me to do that. I thought that was such an honor. Well,
and also, like, I want my brand to be associated with you. I mean, that's what he's saying. He's like, he wants you to represent his brand, which is, I mean, that's a huge compliment, and also a testament to the fact that you're doing it right.
A huge motivation to make sure that I don't mess up, to be honest
that
with you.
Too.
It is like, I felt honored, but also like, okay, now, wow, these are real eyes on me now. And it almost put
there's already been real eyes on you, bro.
Right.
You don't get 700,000 followers on TikTok.
But just like, wow, like every time I see like him or there's a bunch of other people that I've met that have been influential people to me that I'll see them like my page every now and again. And I'm like, oh my God, they just like my page.
Yeah. Dude, how did you get a verified account on TikTok? Is that hard to do? Or because on Instagram, it's been impossible. Like, it drives me crazy because I get all these imposter accounts, and I'm like, if I could just get verified, and I apply, and they keep turning it down. And I'm like, dude, I just don't know the secret, but
I can't tell you how many times I've been asked this. Anytime I go to LA or wherever and we have a creator meetup.
is it rare on TikTok to be verified, or is it more common? Because like Instagram, it's pretty hard.
Everybody has a different thing. I've never been told there's a straight answer. Half the people say it's harder to get verified on TikTok. Half the people say it's harder to get verified on Instagram. I cannot say one way or another because I didn't apply.
To be verified?
I did not. TikTok verified me.
Just randomly? Like you're verified now?
Because I did the...
You have to like show your ID.
There was a request form that I had filled out a long time ago, I remember. But I didn't know what I was doing it for. They sent it to me, I think, in a document. Maybe. I don't even want to speak on it because I don't speak in detail because I don't remember how it actually happened. I don't want TikTok to look at me and then take it away. but no, like...
Have you applied for Instagram? Because I feel like once you're verified in one place, it's probably easier to get verified in other places.
That's the assumption, but I think from what I had heard, you need to get getting a real ID is necessary for making that process easier. Because I mean, let's double back. Right now, it's almost a status symbol. All right.
Yeah.
Getting verified is a status symbol, but let's break it down to what it actually is. It's a verification of your identity.
Yeah, that's all it is.
And that's all it is.
You're the real person.
And so, having an ad space about you, or what is it, the written articles about you, newspapers, clippings, whatever, those things help your notoriety. But like that, does that actually help your verification? From what I had seen, getting that real ID makes a difference in your verification on Instagram.
Interesting.
And so I was gonna actually go get and apply to get that, to see if that made a difference, because on Instagram you can actually apply to get verified.
Yeah, and you I've done it. You have to submit your ID, and then there's like places for you to put links to different things online that like show your someone. And it used to be different. It was like you send your ID and then you just explain why you think you should be verified.
Exactly.
But they changed it. So, I mean, for me, it's like I've seen accounts that are like, they have like 1,000 followers and they're verified because they're like a journalist for some obscure thing.
Exactly.
And so I think it's, if you're like someone who publishes work online, I think that's one way that they'll get verified. Obviously athletes and things like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, once you play on a team, it's definitely easier.
Yeah, that's stuff like that. But for me, I'm like, I've acted in a movie now. I've got this podcast. I've published like several articles and a book chapter and stuff like that, and like all these different things. And I submitted all that, and they were just like, nope. And I'm like, please, I keep getting these imposters. It's driving me nuts.
Did you ever get that real ID?
No, I just have like my normal driver's license.
We can talk after in detail if you want to.
That's weird that's a thing.
But I think that was a big part of getting verified now, is having that, because it's a federally accepted ID. Beyond, I don't know if it's beyond a passport. I think it might be the same level. I don't want to speak. I don't know fully, but I thought that was a big part of it now.
Yeah, but like it was like there was a time when I was getting like an imposter account like every other day. And I'm like, dude, can I just please get verified so that like, because my account got taken down a few times.
Right.
Because it was reported as, and the reason they gave me was for pretending to be someone you're not. And I'm like, no, I am me. This, these are the ones that aren't right.
Yeah.
I figured like if ever there was like a reason to verify it, it was that. Like, you guys keep taking me down,
and
people are
troubling to get a hold of them too.
Oh my God, dude, it's impossible. It's like it's an abyss. Like you just send it off, and you're like, I don't know if a human ever saw that.
It's like that movie. What is it with not Owen Wilson, Matthew McConaughey.
Which one?
Where it's Interstellar.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm sad to admit I haven't watched that yet, but I hear it's amazing. I know. I
thought it was really good.
Yeah, people keep saying like you need to see that, and I'm a McConaughey fan. Yeah. All right, so that's how you make money on social media, all kinds of different avenues. You're basically piecing together different avenues of revenue. And but the cool thing is, I mean, you can do it. Like you can actually make enough money to live as an adult being a creator on social media, which is pretty freaking amazing. And I know a lot of people are interested in hearing about that and are curious about that world. Let's see here.
It's just being a hustler almost, like just like being a go-getter, because you have to check your emails constantly. You have to be available. You have to treat it like a business. It is.
I think a lot of people don't necessarily do that, at least in the beginning, because it is a fun thing. It's social media. You're creating an art form, but you also do have to treat it like a business. Like, think of yourself as like the agent for yourself.
You are.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
You represent you, and you have to treat yourself with such respect. Say, hey, you know what? I feel like I'm worth a little bit more. Or, hey, maybe, you know what? It's actually, there's been times where I felt like I wasn't worth exactly what they were giving me. Like, I felt like they were offering too much, and I felt like I couldn't back up what they said.
Interesting.
There'd be times where I'd accept reluctantly, or when they asked what they thought, like,
or you're like, are you sure you want to give me that much?
Yeah, because I'm like another thing that let's call him my mentor from FGTV. He said, be over deliver, under promise.
Yeah, under promise, over
give
deliver.
more than, and that way they come back. There's a relationship built, and I feel like I've gotten brand deals to come back to me because of that. Like, I've had a couple of them tell me, actually just today I got off the phone with one that said, out of all the people that we have giving us deliverables, or giving us the content, you have been the most responsive. You gave it to us first, and in fact, we've been in contact with you. We haven't even signed some of the stuff, and you've been the most responsive. You didn't ask for more,
right?
And it's like, well, yeah, because I don't know that I'm worth it, until I deliver. So I'm not going to sit there and ask for this insane amount. I'm never, and that's just kind of what I've always kind of had as a mentality to do. You have to, of course, know your value and you respect yourself, to not do something for $10 when you know you're worth more. But you take a step back and realize, hey, you know what? I probably would have done this for free. I am not Matthew McConaughey. I am not The Rock. I am not Denzel Washington. I am not Dave Hurt.
No comment there.
I need to take a step back. I'm not this amazing person. Like, sorry, I didn't mean to phrase it like that. I'm not like,
you are an amazing person.
I just need, you got to take the ego and just let it.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. And it makes a lot of sense. But especially if you're starting out, because one thing is also, sometimes there are trade-offs that you make. Like, sometimes working for free is worth it because you're going to create something with someone that will get you more exposure or more reach or what have you.
Sometimes that's worth it. Sometimes
exactly.
Or
that's better than money.
Better.
Yeah.
A connection is worth more.
Yeah.
A connection is worth unlimited amounts of money.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So the future plans are just keep doing what you're doing and keep growing the way you're growing. Let's see here, man. We've been going for a while.
I know.
Was there anything you wanted to talk about or bring up that we haven't talked about yet?
We've touched on so many different things.
Oh, you got merch. We haven't talked about that. So
yes.
What's the deal with that?
Perfect segue, because what we were talking about different types of sources of revenue.
Yep. See, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, apparently there's something in that brain. There's a brain behind the beard.
It rattles around, but there's something in there.
This is one of the connections that I made. It was an awesome little setup with Clamor in Dallas. It was a convention of influencers, and there was a setup with Spreadshop, and they were doing merch for influencers. There was different deals that they had going on, I guess, and they reached out to me afterwards. Long story short, they wanted me to represent them and utilize their. They have a huge warehouse where they can just literally, like, I don't know exactly how it works, but they have people that do the designs for you. Mm-hmm. They get the merch for you. They ship it for you. And they wanted me to be one of the people that represented basically how they operate and how easy it is. Because I touch nothing, unless maybe sometimes I had the idea to, get merch sent to me. I'll sign it potentially, right. And then send it out to some of my following. But otherwise, I don't have anything to do with it. It's seamless for me. So I'm almost a representative to show to other creators, like, hey, this is pretty easy. Like, you guys could do it too and utilize their warehouse and their I guess you want to call it amenities. Creator amenities.
So easy a Tarzan can do it.
So easy. Bro, that's actually kind of fire. Like, I think
I'll send you my bill for that. But no, so it sounds like it's kind of like a one-stop shop turnkey merch operation and that's another thing that's really cool is how there's been this whole industry that's spun off of the influencer space of like whether it's making merch for influencers or like managing them or setting them up with brand deals and all. There's like a whole industry around it, which has been cool to see that kind of come out of nowhere, right? Because a lot of these people might have originally been involved in like Hollywood or something, but now they don't have to because they can work with influencers, which has been sweet. So you got merch, you're selling it. Where do you sell it at? Where can people find it?
On the links in all of my social media platforms. It's you go to Instagram.
Do you know what your social media
I know.
is?
Well, I do this every day.
Let me help you. It's at mixed_Tarzan on Instagram. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, that's it.
Do you follow this guy, Real Tarzan? He's Tarzan with 2 N's, but he's got like a couple million followers on Instagram. He does all the animal stuff.
Is he the one that's Cody Ansel?
He's friends with him. Like he does stuff with Cody, but it's a separate account. But his account is pretty awesome. But he's also a Tarzan. Maybe you guys can collab.
I know that I've met one of the other Tarzans at the Olympia, though, and then I've actually wanted to visit his facility. It's
in Myrtle Beach,
the zoo that he has. Yeah. So I want to go. I actually want to go check that out. Eventually, make a road trip out there,
dude. Let's go together. I want to go.
Actually, that would be an awesome thing.
That would be.
Do that.
Yeah, I can dress up like a caveman. You can dress up like a Tarzan.
Yeah, well, you can go exactly how you are.
That's pretty much it. No, it's true. I'm a Neanderthal. It's all good. All right. So, but you should check out that other guy too, and because he does really cool stuff. He's very knowledgeable about animals and all that. But you look more like Tarzan than him. I will say that.
I was going to say. I think
sure.
That's where my.
Sure.
Where I belong in the Tarzan realm. There's about 5 of us. There's one other one on TikTok. There's one fitness one on Instagram, and then there's the Cody Ansel, and then the real Tarzan with the 2 N's.
Yep.
I don't know if there's anybody else. I'm sorry if I'm missing anybody, but
I can't think of any, man. All right. So anything else we need to cover before we wrap this baby up? I definitely want to have you back, by the way. I think we could just do a regular thing. Yeah. Like we could pick a topic and come in and jam on it for an hour.
I would love to do that.
Well, you know where I am, dude. That's the cool thing. We work out at the same gym.
Yeah.
There's so many cool people that work out here that I'm like going to start bringing in as guests.
It's an amazing gym. Like we have tons of go-getters, tons of people that are just in it. So just like, all right, let's do as much.
Shout out to the office gym. Whoop. All right. So people can find you at mixed_Tarzan on Instagram. TikTok,
Snapchat, YouTube, everything is pretty uniform. And in fact, in every social media platform that I have, there is a link in the bio that will direct you to pretty much everywhere, including the spread shop for the merch. And that's me.
One last thing I have to ask before, and I try to ask this of all my guests before we wrap up. If you could give one piece of advice to young people today, think 17 to 21, 22 type age, teenagers, what would that be?
I said it earlier, never let anybody tell you that you can't.
Boom.
But further than that, don't let yourself tell you that you can't. There'll be times that you're down. There'll be times that you feel like you're not good enough. But I hope that I can at least influence you in this moment to say that you are. Whatever it is that you want to do, whether it be a social media influencer or a basketball player or some type of journalist, an author, somebody who's behind the scenes, an editor, anything you want, you are already doing it. Just know that it can be done, and why not you?
Yeah, that's a great point right there. Why not you? And remember that there's only one surefire way to definitely not do it, and that's if you quit.
If you stop before you're there.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, man.
This is amazing.
Going to bring you back for sure.
Very smooth.
Hey, man, it's a blast.
It was nothing but a conversation. I love it.
Well, I think we're truly missing that piece. We do a lot of really quick, short things, which is great, but sitting down, human to human, face to face, not on our phones, just having a conversation, man, I think it's something we need more of. And I appreciate you taking the time to do it with me today.
I'd definitely do this more often. This is great.
All right. With that, everybody, until next time, keep your minds free.